This is a very cool vintage Melmac plastic mug. I also think it might be made out of fiberglass because you can kind of see the texture. Looks like a fiberglass boat or something. It's got a cool shape. The cool thing about it too is on the bottom it says US 1953. So I'm assuming it was like for an army cafeteria or something like that. It's pretty neat. So I just found it on a shelf at a thrift store. It probably cost a couple cents. I sold it for $20. So that's kind of neat. The bad thing is my mug storage was not very stable. And when I went to get that mug, this mug fell over. And what was weird was I went and I got this mug, walked over to my shipping table, did a couple things, and then it fell over. So it was kind of like a delayed reaction, but luckily I have a second one of these. It's a cool mug, but there was a pair and now there's just one. So you got to be careful with your storage. This one was just perched on the edge, precarious, so you got to be careful about stuff like that. This is a set of 47 pieces of flatware. In the Canoe Muffin style. Now, I did a deal with someone. I had $150 on this, but I took $125 because yesterday was a really slow day. The only issue is I actually paid $70 for this at an estate sale because I honestly thought I could make over $200 on it. But it ended up that it wasn't a big enough lot, I don't think, and the brand was not Echo Eterna, it's called something else. So maybe it's not as popular, I'm not sure. But I did make $125, so I did make my money back plus some. But $70 is quite high to pay for something. It was one of those gambles where I was like, yes, I'm totally going to make, over $200. Well, not so much, but I didn't lose money. I actually made money, so. These are a pair of track and field shoes, and actually a listener sent me a message through eBay and told me that they were throwing shoes. They're real flat on the bottom. They don't have like any texture or anything. So I added that to the listing, and then they sold pretty fast about a few days later. So these are a brand called Mizuno, I think. And, yeah, Mizuno. And they sold for $40 to someone in the global shipping program. This is a pair of hammered brass. One's a soap dish and one's either a toothbrush holder or a cup. I'm thinking it's a toothbrush holder. And it's got a little bit of damage, but it does look vintage to me. There's no marking on it or anything. And I just thought it was a cool vintage kind of Hollywood Regency look. And it sold for $50. We found this at the thrift store the other day. And it's weird. It's like, it looks like it's supposed to be a cocktail Swizzler holder. Like you can see the little things. I'm pretty sure these are the little things that are supposed to go in here because you can see these holes. But the holes are so tiny that they would have to be these really weird, like tiny sticks that go in there. So I'm assuming that's what it's for because you can see the picture there. There's writing on the bottom of the company that made it, but it's really hard to read. It's cast aluminum with some kind of finish on it. And I listed it right after we got it for $40, and it sold today. So that is an interesting sale. This is a very nice all leather broken in Mizuno catcher's mitt. I had this up for a while, a couple months, for $39, and I had a couple of people ask me what size it was. And the way you can measure it is you measure all around the edge here, and that's the size that people are looking for. But I didn't know that, so I just measured it today, And I thought, you know what, once I measure this, I'm probably going to sell it right away because so many people have asked about it. So I upped the price by $10 and it sold in a couple hours for $50. This is a vintage Sears work jacket. It's kind of like a quilted, puffy work jacket. It's in good shape. It's totally from the 70s. It's got this little hood. You can see it's Sears Work and Leisure. The style of these is pretty popular as just like normal work jackets. But this sold for $40, so that's a great price for just a nylon work jacket. This is a nice LL Bean flannel shirt. I don't think it's vintage, but it is a nice flannel shirt, and it sold for $25. So these are vintage Swedish Army field jackets. You can see there's a Swedish crown. These have the 3 Swedish crowns on them. We got these at the military surplus store where we bought out a whole truckload of stuff. I don't think we paid more than $1 or $2 for each of these. And we've been selling them for $37. So he bought 2 last week. And he emailed me to see if I had more, and I did. I had 5 more. And he bought 2 more. So this was about $74 worth of Swedish military jackets. This is a vintage crucifix. It has little wooden beads that are a nice, it's hard to see in the video, but it's a nice like burgundy color. I do not believe this is silver, but it is a nice sturdy cross and crucifix. I probably picked this up for $1 maybe, and I sold it for $30. This is a massive 12-inch Revereware frying pan. You can see it's quite large. On the back it is copper. You can see the logo. And it says 12-inch 90E. And 90 usually refers to the year, so this is probably from 1990. It is made in the USA. We usually only try to buy these for under $4 or $5, so $1, $2, $3. This one does not come with a lid, and I sold it for $37. This is a McCoy, as you can see. It's a highly collectible brand of pottery. It's a little planter. It's really cute. There are a ton of these particular patterns and sizes on eBay. So mine sold for $30. That's a pretty good price, especially in a competitive market of McCoy. I almost shipped this without videotaping it, but how could you not videotape this sale? Okay, mesh trucker hat with a homemade potato sewn on the front. Nothing else, no words, nothing. It's being sold to someone in Washington State, which is kind of close to Idaho. And it sold for $20. I was always wondering who and when this would sell. And it did. This is a Park Rangers short sleeve shirt. It does not have any patches on it, but it is a uniform shirt. It's in good shape. And it sold for $37. Now this is an odd thing to find in our thrift store, but we did find it. It's a West Indies Cricket World Cup uniform type shirt, and I sold it for $50. So that's quite a nice price for a shirt. This is a vintage 80s Domino Pizza hat, which is kind of awesome. I wonder if the person works for Domino's or just likes Domino's. This sold for $25. Nice hat sales this week. And that's it for this video. See you next week. Bye.